Welcome to the second video for week 1. The previous video focused on the importance of legal research and the need for a strategy when approaching your research question. This section focuses on an online search strategy. It is important to remember that online searching is only one component to legal research.
Online research begins with a database and a search engine. A database is an electronic collection of related documents such as Singapore case law or Malayan law journal or Singapore statutes. Paid online services such as LawNet, Lexis, Westlaw comprise of many databases such as journal collections, case law and legislation from various jurisdictions. Search engines are used to search electronic databases. The advantage of paid services like Lexis and Westlaw is they allow you to formulate very specific search requests. To harness this power, it is necessary to apply a search strategy and to master the technique of searching with terms and connectors, which we will show you shortly. First, let's understand what we mean by online search strategy. When faced with your research question, the first stage is to understand the issues and identify the concepts. The next stage is to identify keywords that might be used to express your concepts. Remember to consider terminology used by the courts and experts and possible variations by jurisdiction. Then, think of alternative ways to express the concepts. Remember that a concept can be expressed in a number of different ways. Tools such as thesauri and dictionaries can help you think of alternative terms. You also need to think about how close together the words should appear in the document. For instance, whether they should appear in the same sentence or in the same paragraph. This will influence the relevancy of your search results. Last but not least, you need to evaluate your search results. Refine your search further based on new information, example date range, new terms, etc. Repeat the process until you get satisfactory results. And then you need to move on to writing your research paper. As I mentioned in the earlier slide, it's important to start your research with spending some time to think about the relevant issues and concepts. Mind mapping is an excellent way to visualize the issues and how they may be related. It also helps you to identify some preliminary keywords to use in your online search later. Here's an example of a mind map. This particular map identifies the facts and issues regarding a road traffic accident. Pause the video for a few minutes to explore the mind map in more detail. Once you have identified the potential issues and concepts, you can think about the possible keywords and alternative words and phrases. Here's an example from Peter Clinch's book on legal research. The various alternatives will be useful when you are trying to combine different terms in your search statement. Now that you have your keywords or terms, you need to connect them in a way that online search engines can process them. Your keywords or terms need to be strung together with connectors, also known as Boolean operators. The right combination of terms and connectors will help you unlock more relevant results. It will also prove to be a more cost-effective search. The first connector is used when conducting a phrase search. For instance, to retrieve documents that only contain the exact phrase poison pill, quotation marks are placed around the words as shown in the screen. Only documents containing the words exactly in the specified order will be retrieved. The most common connector is AND. It is used when you want both terms to appear in documents retrieved. For instance, entering negligence and causation means that search engine will only retrieve documents that contain both terms. This will narrow your search. The OR operator serves to expand your search. You will use it when you want to specify alternative keywords. For instance, entering equitable or beneficial will retrieve documents that either have the term equitable or the term beneficial. This function is also useful for abbreviations. So for instance, if you were looking for cases involving DBS, you might search for DBS or Development Bank of Singapore. The truncation function is often represented by an exclamation mark. When placed at the end of the word, it allows one to search for documents that contain any variations of the word endings. For instance, when placed at the end of reason, this retrieves any documents that contain reason, reasons, or reasoning. This saves a lot of time, as the alternative would have to be to type reason or reasons or reasoning into the search engine box. It is important to think very carefully about where you truncate your search terms. Truncate it properly, like in negligent, you will give you variations of negligence and negligent. If you are looking for variations of defame, truncating after DEFAM will give you defamation, defame, and defamed. However, if you try to truncate after DEF, this would give you defined, definite, and deface, which would not be the relevant terms you were looking for. The wildcard function acts as a placeholder for one character. This is a useful function when you are looking for variations of spelling. For instance, if you were looking for the word organization, you could substitute the letter S for an asterisk, and this would retrieve documents which either contain the word organization spelled with the letter S or organization spelled with a Z. It is also useful for spelling errors, as shown in the example for Bernstein. It is important to remember that the asterisk represents one character. This is a useful function, however, it is like you will not have to use it very frequently. Using proximity connectors allows you to determine how close the terms appear in the documents retrieved in your search. Increasing the proximity between your terms increases the probability that the terms are related. The proximity operator W/n represents within n number of words. N typically can be any number between 1 to 25, depending on how close together you want your terms to be. So for instance, pay W/3 television means pay within 3 words or less of television. This means any documents retrieved might mention the words pay per view television or television you pay to watch. You can also use the connector W/s. This is within the same sentence, such as design within the same sentence as defect. W/p is within the same paragraph, so it'll be utterance within the same paragraph as hearsay. Let's say you are interested in cases discussing common law marriage. Which search would be more likely to retrieve relevant cases? Common and law and marriage, or common law as a phrase within the same sentence as marriage. If you separate the terms with an AND connector, you will retrieve all documents with the terms appearing anywhere in the text. It seems reasonable to suppose that cases discussing common law marriage would have the terms relatively close together. That is, common law as a phrase and the term marriage in the same sentence. Cases with the terms appearing on different pages of the opinion seem less likely to be relevant. When conducting your online search, you will have multiple terms and multiple connectors. Parentheses help you to group terms you want processed first. Compare the two search statements. They will give you very different results depending on where the parentheses are placed. The first one, the search engine will process by retrieving documents that have the terms journalist and defamation, and then it will search for documents that have the terms journalist and publish. In the second statement, it will search for documents with the terms journalist and defamation, and then it will search for any documents where the terms publish appear. As you can see, the results will be very different. Here is some examples of how you can combine multiple terms with different connectors. Here's a tip. It is best to start your search broad. Do not include too many search terms and connectors in your initial search. You can always refine your search further by adding more keywords or more connectors. You may know this as searching within your results. This method of refining your online search will save you costs in the long run. If you start a search that is too specific and you do not get enough results, you may have to start again, and this would be considered a second search charge. It is important that you master searching using terms and connectors, otherwise known as Boolean. Many online legal databases still require this method of searching to achieve the best results. The good news is that once you have mastered terms and connectors, you can apply it to any online search engine. Yes, Google too. The only downside is that the different databases may use different symbols to represent the different connectors. To make life a little easier, here is a table with all the different symbols used for LawNet, Lexis, and Westlaw. You may also download a copy from the Law Research Navigator. It is available at the bottom of the list of databases. This is a more detailed list and includes connector symbols for Google too. This brings us to the end of the section on searching with terms and connectors. Please email lipresearch@smu.edu.sg if you have any questions, or feel free to raise the questions when you see us in class.